Very good morning to all the viewers and listeners of Hello Kolkata podcast, a Kolkata Calling podcast series. Like every Sunday, we are back again with a very special guest this time, and you will shortly know why I say that. Uh, for the last 57 episodes, we've brought guests from the city who have, through their experience, through their journey, shared their learnings, shared their stories with our viewers and audience. And today's guest is no different. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce today's guest. He's a teenager from Kolkata. He's a very, very young co founder, and he's been accepted into the Y Combinator Winter Cohort 26. And he's building a very ambitious AI product in the domain of scientific research. So, before I introduce Aayam Bansal onto the main stage, let me give him a quick intro for the viewers and listeners. Uh, Aayam is the co-founder of InkVell, a startup that has made it into the Y Combinator, the world's most influential startup accelerator. And Aayam's journey, which we'll hear from him, is extraordinary. When I was reading about him, when I spoke with him, it was truly inspiring for such a young boy to have accomplished so much. And we wish him all the best for the future as well, from building a patented AI-powered product at a young age to creating large-scale COVID helpline infrastructure to working on foundational AI models and publishing at top global conferences. He's done it all at an age when most of us hadn't even barely figured out what we wanted to do in life. With InkVell, his venture, Aayam is now building a human-centered AI platform aimed at transforming how scientific research is done, not by replacing researchers, but by empowering them to work faster, smarter, and more creatively. Today, we'll learn more about his journey, his growing up days, he's still growing up, building early, and navigating the Y Combinator scenario, and what it really takes to build deep tech startups from India at such a young age. With that, let me welcome Aayam onto the main stage. Aayam, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Hello Kolkata.
Thank you so much, Abhi. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, Aayam, obviously the first thing that comes to my mind and would come to a lot of other people who'll be listening to this is how young you are. You just turned 18, if that's correct.
Yep. I just turned 18 in August last year.
Wow. Um, Aayam, so I mean, for guests who have come onto this platform, we typically talk about their early days, their younger days, but you're still very much in it.
True.
But tell us a little bit about the journey. You've grown up in Kolkata, studied in a very prestigious Kolkata school. Uh, Take us a little bit back, maybe not too far, about how the interest in building products, experimenting, trying coding, all of that. How did that come to you, and how did the city and your experience here, shape that?
Mhm. Okay, so I'll not dial back a lot, and I'll just briefly sum this up. But I was really into math and logic from a really young age, maybe even like 4 or 5, and I started learning my first programming language officially, which was C++ back when I was in fourth grade. Till maybe eighth grade, it was all just basic math, logic, and sort of understanding, just being a couple of grades ahead, and just just learning about more number theory, just going outside of school, what school offered, and exploring new mathematical concepts, maybe even computing. And then in ninth grade, I sort of just went ahead and started programming. I think ChatGPT came out just during that time, and it was really great. It was COVID, didn't have really much to do. School was just going, and I was really into like how LLMs are sort of made, or like how the vector database is sort of structured, how they are built from scratch. That's where the entire foundation models came ahead, and yeah, that sort of led me into learning AI, learning machine learning, and sort of navigating through the entire process. And then early last year in 2025, I was like, let's me just work on a couple of products, build a couple of stuff, and then finally land on Inkwell, which sort of just blew up.
Yeah. And tell me this, I am obviously you've been involved in maths and problem solving
Mhm,
and coding from a very early age. But what
mhm,
about the stuff that normal teenagers do? Video games and social media. What about your brushes with them? Were you into all of that, or you were focused on solving problems, learning coding?
I mean, I was a normal kid as well. It's not like I was just, a math geek, just doing math the entire day,
Mhm.
not doing anything else. But yeah, I love playing games. I had a PlayStation 4. Even like right now, whenever I travel back and forth in the US, I have a Nintendo Switch. I love playing games on there. Um, I I played chess as well for a long time. Played badminton, a lot of sports as well. So it doesn't like a normal sort of childhood experience has not really been that different from anybody else. It's just
Mhm.
instead of spending my entirety of my time into sports or playing video games, I sort of dedicated some time to this as well because I was just natural intellectual interest and not really just oh, I just want to do this good because it would help me later on. It's just because I wanted to.
Yeah. And something that's also coming to my mind, because at an early age to figure out what you really want to do is obviously very difficult. Most people don't figure it out until much later. But obviously you had your board exams and all of those were going on. Obviously those have certain expectations, certain pressure, especially from bright young minds such as you. But beyond that, obviously, there is a career, right? An education and then a career that most
Mhm.
families, parents, peer groups lay out for bright kids. Uh, at what point did you realize that I'm not going to go for, let's say, a traditional college degree? Because if I'm not wrong, you decided to drop out, and you can obviously get into that
Mhm.
journey of making that decision. But at what point did you decide for yourself that I'm gonna do a startup, I'm gonna turn entrepreneur, a founder, and I'm gonna get into this alternate career, which obviously a lot of great success stories have come out from the Silicon Valley, but to do it from Calcutta, to do it from India, that's a different thing altogether. So take us through that mindset.
So three like towards the end of my high school journey. I was really into, just getting into the best college I can and just completing my bachelor's degree, go for a PhD, and just take it forward from there. But then, between learning, I just wanted to really like just build cool stuff that people could use.
Mhm.
And what I'm building right now is a problem that I was facing on my own. So I sort of built it for me and the research community that I had, like the first product, the cursor for latex. And then I went to college as expected. Spent a couple of months there. I studied like the normal subjects. I did Cal 3. I took a lot of CS courses, and then at some point, it was just that college can wait, and it's not like it's running away anywhere. I can go back to college anytime I want. It's just the timing is right. I've got good investors. I've got a good idea, and um, the acceptance from Y Combinator came as well. So I was like everything's pushing me to take a gap year, take 2 gap years from college, and just um, take my shot into entrepreneurship, build something cool, see where it takes me, and then if it doesn't work out, I mean, I can always go back to college, and if it does, then that's great. But still, would love to go back to college and get like a formal education, learn stuff that I really want to do, like build foundation model. That's stuff that I can't do right now because I don't really have the best mathematical background that a bachelor's or a PhD would give me.
Hmm. No, it's good to hear that. And at least what I understand is you're not completely against doing a college degree. You some point of time you might decide to pick it up, but it's a very bold step. How was the reaction from the family and your peer group? Did you face resistance, or did you get wholehearted support?
To be honest, I have been talking about ever since I went to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I went there late August, and ever since early September, since the first couple of investors started coming in, and we got a lot of traction.
Hmm.
I or I had already like spoken to my parents that oh, there might be at some point I might have to take a gap year, maybe two, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. I was more likely to take a gap year right after my first year, after my first semester. I didn't think that I would just drop the first semester, drop all my grades, drop all my courses. My parents were really supportive of it. All my relatives were as well. Um, to be honest, I had raised like quite a huge amount, and like the idea was pretty good as well. And we had really good traction, we had really good backing. It just didn't make sense for me to continue school and um, stay there in college and just sort of focus on both, which wasn't really possible.
Yeah, yeah, and sort of we'll get into how the genesis of Inkwell came about. You mentioned that uh, it was a personal problem that sort of led to this solution, which you later turned it into a company, and a solution for everybody to get the benefits from. Uh, Take us a little bit through the genesis of how the problem statement came to you from your own experience, and then how sort of you decided to solve it, which later became Inkwell.
So I've been doing research for the past 4 years. Like all of my early mathematical and computing sort of experiences pushed me towards research. And the first paper I wrote was like very mid. I did not know what I was doing. I didn't understand the terms. I didn't understand what temporal encoding was. I didn't understand a lot of stuff that was going on. But then over the past couple of years, I've improved. I interned at NUS a couple of years ago. I interned at Harvard as well. And then during my final year of high school, during my final year, during January last year, I think a year ago, I joined the Carnegie Mellon um, SCS lab. And
Yeah.
there I just, was working on foundation models under Mr. Mustafa. And we worked on a lot of cool stuff. And then one of the papers got rejected by ACL.
Hmm.
And it was just it was a really pain point learning LaTeX and sort of reformatting the paper for another conference because it just took a lot of time that we didn't want to sort of put through. And ChatGPT, Claude, a lot of these AI tools did edited the latex code, but it was just really bad. Like everything was just all over the place, and it just didn't seem right. So we sort of wanted to build like a cursor for latex for the entire research community itself, and sort of not push people towards Overleaf. It just happened to be just like a latex compilation software. So we just wanted to make something for the researchers, and then boards came, just worked on this afterwards, and just like between high school and college, I had a couple of months, around 3 to 4, and just worked on this. I worked on Carnegie Mellon research as well. And then at some point, talking to investors, talking to customers, we were like, oh, there's no tool that takes you through the entire sort of um, process of research from like ideation all the way through drafting your paper. And we were like, oh, this is like a really cool domain that you could build in because
Hmm.
obviously me and Ishaan, my co-founder, we have been into research for a long time and we know the entire journey. We know all the pain points. And we just thought that as sort of fragmented the research spaces, we could bring it together with a single product that researchers could use.
Yeah. And obviously, Ishan, I want to understand also how you met your co-founder Ishan. How did that partnership come about?
I met Ishaan in 2024 to like around 1.5 years ago. We
Hmm.
both interned under the same NUS professor. And then he interned back in December 23 and I did in, I think, June 24. And
Hmm.
then around July, August, the professor was like, you two are really cool people and that you two should meet together, like meet up and just, sort of work on stuff together. So
Hmm.
sort of just got introduced by the NUS professor from there. And yeah, just worked on a lot of competitions, even high school ones, and then worked on a lot of research from there. At the end, we just, from this Carnegie Mellon research, we turned uh, the pain point into InkVell.
Yeah, and obviously, choosing a friend or a team member is one thing, but to have that compatibility to sort of become co-founders at such a young age. Tell us a little bit about the dynamics between you and Ishan that sort of catapulted Inkwell
Mhm.
into from a vision into a reality.
I think it's more because we both are really technical people and we both know both the tech side and are exploring the entrepreneurship side. It was both me and his sort of first official venture, I would say, like first big product that we're actually building, first thing that we actually got funding for is a pre-seed. And the fact is, even before we were co-founders, we were really good friends for the past 1.5 years, worked on a lot of stuff. just call, message each other, even 1 2 3 at night, even in the morning, and yeah, it just sort of made sense, and we just got comfortable with each other um, early on, and then now it's just all great.
Yeah. And you dropped a few names there. I am, Carnegie Mellon,
Mhm.
NUS, all of those. How difficult was it to get access to those internships while you were, you
Mhm.
know, very, very young? Like, what credentials, what intent, uh, all that you had to go through to get into that sphere, which sort of later helped
Mhm.
you, in your work with Inkwell. Take us a little through that as well.
Okay, so this is like a really biased opinion I have in my mind, but unis in Singapore and the US really support high schoolers who are not brilliant, but who want to make an impact and are really passionate about what they're doing.
Hmm.
So, sort of getting through to them is not that hard, but then proving yourself and sort of getting into the lab and working on papers together and getting mentored by them, their PhD students that they're working with, that sort of takes a bit of effort and time. And I just learned that through each and every sort of research and internship that I did for the past 3 years. So it's very different from India, where, uh, as I said, it might be biased, but I've spoken to a lot of professors who don't want high schoolers in their lab in
Hmm.
India, and I think that's really good about um, a lot of these US and Singapore universities, that they support a lot of high schoolers and build their, um, I would say, intellectual um, mind, and
Hmm.
just help them do what they want to do and empower them into doing research or whatever they want to pursue at their lab.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll probably come to this aspect of the Indian education system versus the West,
Mhm.
or let's say Singapore, for example. But let's sort of go into the Inkwell journey in more detail. Uh, and again, pardon my non-technical background, but if I understand correctly, you said that research papers have a certain format which is very specific to the institute or whatever the competition, or the selection criteria that it's presented
Mhm.
for, and then taking the same research and presenting it elsewhere requires a lot of formatting. It's a different structure of the document, or how it's presented. uh, Take us a little bit through the details of it, like how much is it different from one format to another? And you mentioned that you had tried your hand at multiple AI models, and they were not able to do justice to the requirement. Otherwise, obviously, people would use any of these existing
Mhm.
products. What differentiates Inkwell the way you two visioned it, and then sort of made it a reality?
So, first of all, like it's all based on a sort of, I would say, like programming language for formatting, which is LaTeX,
Hmm.
and the it's a very renowned sort of language that's used by literally everybody in the research space, and it's a steep learning curve. Learning
Hmm.
LaTeX is really really hard, and reformatting papers takes some sort of skill or knowing the syntax. And even ChatGPT, Claude, a lot of these AI models, although they have that, it's just they can't really produce good latex content, and like the figure is going to be distorted, the text is going to be overlapping, and making like ensuring that it's fully production ready or fully sort of camera ready to submit to these conferences is sort of hard, and that's where Inkwell came in early stage. But then at some point we just realized that it was a yeah, it is a pain problem, but it is a very small problem in the research phase that we could solve. There were bigger problems as well. So we
Hmm.
sort of generalized, not abandoning this idea, but integrating this into the entire workflow that we have right now.
Yeah, and what you told me earlier was that it's sort of an operating system, or a new operating system
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
doing research. Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about all the other aspects that you've integrated into your offering
Mhm.
at Inkwell, and what is the product slash solution capable of today, and then probably we can go a little further into understanding what do you have plans for it in the future.
So right now, InkVell is sort of like an operation, as you said, an operating system for scientific research. It takes you through the entire research journey without, you know, you doing the redundant work, you running experimentations, you sort of downloading the pre-required softwares that you need to, running Python scripts. You don't need to do anything. And even like literature reviews, ideation, like you're ideating an idea, you need to get a novel idea. What InkVell will do is sort of use a decision tree to sort of get through from a single generic idea to a novel idea and run retrieval agents and at every step, so that um, there's no hallucination, there's no sort of funny business going on the side, and it just takes you from ideation. It goes to literature reviews. It does a sort of landscape of whatever past research has been done, goes through archive templates, goes through a lot of published papers, and then you can sort of generate a methodology as well on what you're going to do for your paper. Run mass parallel experimentation agents that run for literally hours on end. Um, Sort of get your results, get your citations in order, and then draft your final paper with LaTeX, as I said. So it just
Yeah.
takes you through the entire process, and I would say it's sort of like a human in the loop system that you are prompting the LLM what to do.
Mm-hmm.
The LLM is not smart enough to generate an entire paper from scratch or sort of help you or sort of do the entire research process for you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not good enough right now. They need sort of that human in the loop system where you are prompting the AI or the LLM to do what you want it to do so that it does not hallucinate on its own and sort of generate false hypotheses and
Or
go in
confirm
the
your
wrong
bias.
direction. Sort of, not, yes, sort of. And yeah, so it's like 90% of the redundant work and the sort of tedious work that you need to do is done by InkVell.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just need to prompt it. You need to use your brain where needs to be used, which is sort of creating a methodology, sort of figuring out what you need to do in for your research, and not reformatting or doing citations or you know getting into um, tedious work, as I said.
Yeah. And again, coming from a non-technical background, but since AI has been all pervasive in our lives for the last couple of years, so I understand a little bit about the RAG, like retrieval augmented generation, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
you sort of focus the attention to certain specific assets, documents that you load, and then sort of the whatever is generated by the LLM is strictly focused on that, which you mentioned, reduces the hallucination of the model. So when you mentioned the retrieval system here, so what kind of inputs does it require from the researcher to feed it into InkVell? Let's say that way. And what is the heavy lifting that's on the researcher himself or herself versus the heavy lifting that InkVell does for them?
It's sort of like all prompting now. It's like ChatGPT for research, if you look at it in sort of
Mm-hmm.
a way. So first of all, you just sort of give it like an outline of the paper that you want to write, the idea, what you're sort of envisioning. It will sort of use its brain and generate like an entire research plan, and it'll ask you questions along the way that, oh, do you want me to use this data set, what should be the AOC score, like literally everything that comes in its way. It'll keep asking you. And um, the heavy lifting that's done by the researchers is sort of just going through the MD files, going through stuff, and just ensuring that what they this is what they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that InkVell is doing what it's supposed to, and sort of just making sure it's on the right track. That's sort of it. And then also, like, there are some mathematical frameworks that obviously AI can't just think of right now, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why there are researchers working at Google DeepMind, and then Amazon AWS cryptography, um, and OpenAI, Anthropic, because they can think of these mathematical frameworks that you need to use, or sort of generate these novel ideas, and um, just do novel research that LLMs can't do. So
Yeah.
that's sort of the domain where the researchers would come in and sort of
Yeah.
provide their feedback on what LLMs can't do right now, or generalize right now.
Yeah. And I have a couple of questions here. I am, if you'll indulge me. So one is
Mm.
obviously this is something that came to you as your own problem that you wanted to solve, and obviously then you build the product. Uh, from your experience or test cases that you've run so far, uh, how much does the duration of this entire process shrink by using Inkwell for a researcher? What has been your experience?
So if you're just looking at an individual researcher who's working on a paper on his own and not a lab, earlier to submit to, I'll take a conference, EACL, it took you around 2 to 3 months to just to write an entire paper, sort of go through everything. But with Inkwell, I mean, you need to be sort of, you need to know how to do research to sort of operate Inkwell as well. And you need to
Mhm.
have that sort of basic understanding. But with Inkwell, you can shrink them down to a couple of days. So,
Wow.
um, I mean, we even me and Ishaan sort of worked on a couple of EACL papers with Inkwell to sort of
Mhm.
see how they're going. And we submitted a couple of papers, and in total, the entire process took us about like 14 to 16 hours to generate an entire paper
Wow.
with the novel
Which
inputs.
Yeah, which brings me to my second question, which is, um, given your interaction with investors, Y Combinator, I'm sure you've discussed it with a lot of scientific research community. Uh, is there some resistance to using a platform like this, which can reduce time so drastically, where a question on, let's say, research is hard work, you have to put in the hours, you have to spend time in the problem, with the problem. If it gets shrunk so drastically using a product like this, does it bring up questions on how much of it is ethical, how much of it is original, how much of it is, let's say, machine generated versus a human mind generated? Do those ethical questions come up in your discussions?
To be honest, you could same generalize the fact to ChatGPT as a whole as well. I mean, literally everybody on earth is using it, and um, you could sort of say that you are using ChatGPT to maybe generate emails, generate text responses. I mean, to be honest, you could call that non-ethical as well. I think
Hmm.
what Inkle will sort of allow you to do is work on research really fast and
Hmm.
sort of um, give time to what's important is which is like as I said, generating these mathematical frameworks or working on the algorithm side of things, prompt engineering, something that are fine tuning, even like making sure, like it's all human supervised LLM work.
Sure.
So you're just supervising AI to do what needs to be done. And like whatever research paper you're working on, whatever computation work you're working on, and it's just sort of like um, you not doing the manual labor. I mean,
Hmm.
you always have to sort of understand what you're working on. It's not going to be like, oh, you just entered a prompt, you worked with ChatGPT and Inkwell and sort of generate a paper, submitted it, got accepted. So
Yeah.
obviously you need to work. You need to understand the problem as well. You need to understand what Inkwell is doing as well. So that's why it sort of has empty files explaining you from scratch what's going on.
Yeah.
And there's always like AI agents that we have built to sort of um, give you a deeper insight, like ChatGPT, that oh, this is what happened, and if you don't understand it, we can break it down for you, simple as a 5-year-old, if you want.
Yeah. And I'll sort of double click on one point here, I am.
Mhm.
So obviously, you're giving the guidance, you're doing the supervision. You mentioned human in the loop. Um, what stops, or what kind of guidelines or guardrails rather would you put in the product to ensure that the, let's say, the model uh, doesn't go beyond the scope and starts picking up other research from other researchers and
Mhm.
attributing it to its own original creation, where obviously you have
Mhm.
long list of bibliography and references that you need to provide in any scientific research paper. But what stops an LLM from, I would say, crossing over the jurisdiction and picking up stuff
Mhm.
and calling it its own versus giving due credit and references to past research that has happened in the same domain?
So, okay, that's a really good point. We have callback agents that are supervising the agents themselves.
Hmm.
So everything is sort of given credit for. And it's sort of like you can't really call research that's been done before your own research. There's always the paper has been published. There's a reference DOI link to it. Anybody can look it up. So there's that, and there's callback agents that sort of ensure that this doesn't happen. First, like they have a couple of guidelines, like oh, please make sure that the Claude, like whatever agent is running, is not hallucinating. Then all the citations are mentioned properly, and then what you're working on, whatever research has been done before, should be mentioned in literature review section, and not really, into your original methodology. And like everything thing that is take like might be unethical, or might be sort of the gray area of not original scholar research, is sort
Mhm.
of hard coded into all of the agents that, oh, this is something you're not supposed to do. And even if it does, there's callback agents that sort of supervise those agents to make sure that they don't.
Very interesting. And I am tell us a little bit about, obviously you mentioned that, as an independent or an individual researcher, you can definitely start using Inkwell. You mentioned
Mhm.
you're starting with a B2C kind of a model.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about future use cases that you would want to explore with Inkwell, and obviously we'll get into the Y Combinator journey as well. And how do you see that evolving over the next few months, few years?
So right now we're just focusing on getting individual researchers. But the next couple of months we're going to launch our sort of like a research lab software, which can be integrated into research labs, GitHub organizations. They can index past papers that the lab has worked on, past code that the lab has worked on, keep an index for everything, and sort of call back to it when required. And it's sort of like collaborative environment that every researcher can get work on and can be supervised. So it's sort of like creating a GitHub organization, but for research and using Inkwell. So that's sort of going to be our veg in the next couple of months,
Yeah.
close to YC demo day, is what we were
Mhm.
thinking.
Okay. Okay. And obviously, we'll come into the YC journey because obviously it's a very prestigious, I would say, program, accelerator program that you guys have been selected into, and many congratulations to both of you. But before that, I am. You also mentioned you had received interest from investors, raised some money, and you said, we got investors, and you said we got customers. It's not as easy as you probably made it sound. So, and I'm sure you are very proactive in reaching out to people, but tell us a little bit about how you got those early investors, interested in your idea. How do you get your first set of customers that sort of established the proof of concept of Inkwell?
So that started all back in June, when we had a waitlist of around like 500 to 600 people, uh, all researchers, all graduate PhD students, even bachelor students, a couple of them. And we were sort of ideating with them, sort of completing our product design or what we're going to actually build and sort of launch. So that sort of took us till September. And then in September, we started cold outreaching to all of the different VCs that we could, a lot of
Mhm.
private investors, got our first check. Um, by A16Z late September. And then it
Wow.
sort of transitioned through there. We got a lot of warm intros, a lot of people sort of found our idea really cool. And what I think is these early investments then sort of took us to YC, and then ended up completing our pre-seed raise.
Yeah. Now, since you've done these investor pitches so many times, and
Mhm.
obviously you got pretty high rate of success, what do you think caught the attention of the investors, because they get pitched ideas from young co-founders, AI products, 1,000 times a day. What do you think was so much differentiating about Inkwell that within a month you got early investors, you got YC's attention? How did that happen?
So it's sort of not just the product, it's about the founders itself as well.
Mhm,
And it's
mhm,
just me and Ishaan had been working on research and a lot of other stuff for such a long time that we knew the product really well and the space. So it's like for YC and all these early investors, it's more about the founder themselves rather than the product. So
mhm,
like me and Ishan have been working on AI products and research for the past 4 years. We have had a lot of cool stuff, worked on a lot of projects. I've got a lot of awards. Ishan represented India for at IOI in Beijing this year, last year, I would say. Um, so, like all of those experiences sort of led us to talking to those investors, and then it's about like founder product compatibility as well, which we really had. And the product that we were building was sort of generational in the sense that nobody
mhm.
was doing it at that point of time, and it was really high value to sort of for these investors to invest in us and the product itself as The space was really great, and it was not a B2C sort of approach as well. It sort of um, spread through across everywhere, and
Hmm.
yeah, and investors like really like that idea. So
Yeah. Uh, and we'll get into the Y Combinator journey, and you can also,
mhm.
make me aware of where you are in the process of the Y Combinator journey. How did the YC interest come about? What was the process like? What has been the experience like so far? I understand you're traveling to the States very shortly, but tell us a little bit about the journey so far with Y Combinator, and what are some of the things that you and Ishan learned along the way of this YC journey?
So we applied to Y Combinator right as I was leaving for like leaving UIUC to um, go to Bangalore to work with Ishaan on this. And
Mhm.
this was like early November, mid-November, I would say like November 15th. And we got into Y Combinator 15 days after that, November end. It was like a really short process. It started with an application and ended with like two interviews. First one was to sort of discuss everything, and second was to sort of congratulate us for the acceptance. And the YC journey was really great. I mean, till now we've gotten a lot of guidance, and our YC batch officially starts in a couple of days. So uh, it's just moving to SF and settling there, and just working with YC, sort of getting a lot of marketing and PR done as well.
Yeah. And so far, obviously, I understand the cohort
Mhm.
starts in a couple of days, and wish both of you very, all the best for that. So far in the journey with YC, what are some of, let's say, the blind spots that have been removed, some things that you've learned along the way through this experience?
I would say one of the really important things that sort of YC, like a first bash meeting with a group partner sort of taught us was that we like building the product is not really everything, that we need to
Mhm.
market it as well. So
Yeah.
that's sort of what we were focusing on for the last couple of weeks as well. So a building is always going to be there, and once we officially launch in a week or so, we want to sort of make sure that it reaches the right people, and it
Mhm.
has um, I would not say customers, but at least some traction to the point that we can, understand deeply that what else do researchers require, because obviously no one can know the entire space, and we just want to build all everything that researchers might require for them to work on cool stuff, and not really feel that, oh, research is hard and tedious and we just don't want to delve into all of this.
Yeah. And one last question on the YC piece: what is getting you most excited about the cohort starting in a couple of days?
Also, it's all about networking. Like YC for me, it's about networking and marketing more than
Hmm.
actually building the product itself, because that's sort of uh, taken care of, I would say. Because as I said, me and Ishan are really technical, and we've been um, building AI products for a long time. So that's sort of taken care. I would say it's more about networking, meeting really cool founders, checking with them like what they're working on, discussing ideas, meeting investors, meeting researchers, meeting customers. So it's all going to be meeting cool people for the next couple of months.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Switching gears, I am here. Obviously, this conversation for the last 30 odd minutes, it honestly, it doesn't seem like you're 18 at all, right? You seem like a pretty much a pro entrepreneur in this space who's been doing it for many years. But yes, you have been from the age of 14, you've been working in this space, so you know your stuff. But you mentioned something about the earlier about the the education system in India versus abroad, and where younger folks are taken less seriously because of the lack of
Mhm.
age, or lack of degrees by that time. uh, how has your experience been when you've been pitching to investors, YC, your interactions with them? Do you feel that sometimes you're taken less seriously because of your relatively young age, or your expertise and your confidence is good enough to convince them otherwise? What has been your experience?
To be honest, a lot of these US investors, founders, even university people, like university staff, and um, a lot of these other really cool people in the US, professors, researchers, they really don't care about how old you are, and
Hmm.
it's more about if you're really intellectual and interested in the space, rather than seeing that, oh, you're 18, I don't think you're going to know enough math to sort of build an AI product. And it's
Hmm.
more like, oh, what have you done so far? And
Hmm.
how can I help you um, sort of in the next few steps that you are taking care of? So I would say it's really empowering in the US that was a bit sort of shied out back here in India.
Yeah. And obviously now you have a very clear focus in terms of, you're taking this to YC, you want to, grow InkVell. Uh, and obviously, I mean, you are adaptable to different circumstances, things changing, but what is your vision? You mentioned you're building a generational product company. What is your vision for InkVell in the future?
So in the future, we just want to sort of create an intelligent research scientist
Hmm.
with all of the feedback, all of the sort of AI tools that we have so far, and sort of create into a software that is sort of embedded into research in such a way that it becomes an essential part of it. So, uh, I mean, you're doing 3D design. I'm just giving an example. Like you're doing 3D design, CAD and Autodesk. A lot of these softwares are sort of embedded into that um, in that space in such a way that you literally cannot dislodge it. So that's sort of what we want to do, and
The
like keeping
stickiness.
the stickiness is there as well, and
Hmm.
we just want to make something that researchers love,
Hmm.
and you know it sort of helps them in a way that um, it helped us early on, and just yeah, like remove all the tedious um, work that they have to do.
Yeah. Um, I am obviously, success has come very quickly, and touch wood, it continues. How has that, the how have you processed that, right? In terms of, getting investors very quickly, getting into YC very quickly. All of these changes have happened in the last few months. How have you taken that success in? Has it sunk in? Are you more, unattached to the celebrity that you might be in your peer group of friends at school? How have you taken that?
To be honest, I just think that anybody can do what we are doing. They just need to sort of um, just find a really cool idea to work on and just give it their all and
Mhm.
learn from their experiences. Maybe it's not going to work out. Maybe they need to learn something more, need to learn more math, they need to learn more machine learning, just enroll in more courses and, work on new ideas. So I just think what I'm doing is no different from the people my same age. Like a lot of these young folks from even from India, from the US are getting into AI and sort of building these tools and companies. And I just think that um, what I'm doing is no different from them. It's just
Mhm.
the idea was good, and the um, as I said, the founder idea sort of combination was great. That's what investors loved, and I mean, to be honest, it's not really much to process as it was something that I was sort of working really, really hard on, and I was sort of expecting this outcome because even like the 3 months I was enrolled in the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, although I did work on my courses, I gave a lot of really uh, like a lot of time to Inkwell as well. I spent like a lot of nights sleeping at like 4 a.m. working on this for hours on end. So it was sort of anticipated, I would say, but not to this extent, obviously.
Hmm. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's a lot of humility and maturity. Sorry to, mention that, because it's very surprising in a good way to see that level of maturity from somebody at that young. But maybe I'm also playing to the bias that you talked about in India, where, age is an important factor, but it's not so much in elsewhere. I am switching gears to sort of the closing part of our conversation, which is very important, I believe, for our listeners and viewers, and many young people who would be probably listening to you. Um, One is this perception, as you mentioned, and obviously a lot of it is reinforced because of what you said about the academic community, about the investor community, not putting enough trust in young folks. uh, and there is this generational divide between millennials, Gen Z, and you are Gen Z, if I'm not wrong, if I'm getting the
Yeah.
bracket correct. Yeah, you're Gen Z, and there's a lot of preconceived notion that millennials and older people have about Gen Z. You've heard the stereotypes. What is the Gen Z version of looking at the world from their lens? Uh, is the society holding them back, or they don't care? They are just out there to prove themselves. You've grown up, among that crowd. What is the version that Gen Z feels towards the world today?
I would say it's more towards it's really there are a lot of different perceptions that this age has. There are people who want to just like everybody has a sort of different perception on what they want to do. There are people
Hmm.
who don't want to delve into building a company right now. They want to complete their bachelor's, they want to work somewhere, and they want a stable life. I think it really depends on what you want rather than what Gen Z wants. So I cannot say something for the entire sort of age group that I am in, but
Hmm.
at least for my community, which I would say is a research founder community, a lot of these really young people just want to work on something, as I said, something that would help others. Number one, and number two would be something that um, would sort of make a shift into the ecosystem that's going, like any ecosystem that they're working in, and
Hmm.
um, sort of like does like sort of bridge their name as well in there, that oh, this guy worked on this, so
Yeah.
uh, sort of get them themselves out there as well. So there's there for at least the community that I belong to, like inside the Gen Z sphere. For like the society thing, I would say a lot of parents are now adapting, and a lot of these relatives are now adapting to the sort of sphere that's going around right now, that oh, people are actually dropping out of university to work on their own company, work on their own startup. And there are people who are even just continuing university, doing their PhD. I mean, a lot of these parents that I know don't really support doing a PhD. They want their children to just complete a bachelor's, get a stable job, work somewhere. um, and I just think that um, like one knows oneself the best, and they know what they can do and they can't do. So just listening to themselves and listening to what the younger generation wants is something that's really important right now.
Yeah, very, very well said. I'll also ask you this because obviously you're from Kolkata, and there is this historical perception, which I wouldn't say is without reason, that great deep tech startups or companies have rarely come out of the city or the region. Uh, I know geography isn't a barrier for Gen Z, because obviously the world is your oyster thanks to the internet and everything, the connectivity. How have you navigated this perception? And did it ever bother you? Did it ever hold you back to exploring opportunities globally? Tell us a little bit about your perception growing up and developing your own product and company.
I'd say a lot of, at least Calcutta and West Bengal itself, everybody is very traditional and they want to go the traditional route
Mm.
of like whichever sphere they're in, maybe complete college, work on a job, work on their own parents' company. And it's very sort of a path has been set for them and they can't navigate the world for themselves.
Yeah.
That sort of the sphere is like, which is here in Calcutta, or a lot of people that I've spoken to from here. Uh, I would not say fortunately, but I was not really in that sphere. Although I was living among them, I was not really in that sphere. My parents are from Haryana, and they never really sort of encouraged me to go to the traditional route. They sort of let me do what I wanted to do, which obviously, like, there's going to be ethical factors. They're going to advise me on a couple of stuff. They're going to obviously be a part of my journey, but they never let that, like, let me being young or not being able to make mature decisions sort of hold me back, and sort of just encourage me all the way, which I think a lot of um, parents from Calcutta should be doing, which they
Yeah,
don't do already.
yeah. Well said again. Um, I am also, since I have you here for a few more minutes, I'll also want to sort of pick your brains on a couple of things. One is obviously there are so many young people uh, who want to start something of their own. Uh, what would your advice be? And I want sort of more tangible things that you did yourself on improving yourself, improving your perspective, improving your skills, getting those credentials, getting those internships. What are some of the tangible learnings that you can share from your own experience for young kids who are, let's say, in the standard 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 today, so that they can also actually use that in practice? What would you say some of those things would be?
I would say, first of all, like, focus on whatever you want to do, or sort of create a pathway for the future on your own as well. Something different that might be different from others, and it's not always you have to follow the herd. You can make parts of your own as well. But I would not also encourage you so to sort of just get, like, delve into the research space, delve into the entrepreneurship side, and just build products
Mm,
completely. Set aside school, college, your examinations. I would not encourage. I would say, like, it should be sort of like a bifold approach, that, oh, you're sort of creating a safe path for yourself while you're working on really cool stuff. And if it does well, I mean, you can always choose a side. And if it does not, you can always, sort of just carry on the bifold approach. For me, at least, I would say going to university is very, very important. And even right now, taking a gap year, I sort of, um, miss being in college, in the sense that being in the learning atmosphere sort of teaches you a lot of things.
mhm.
And I think everybody should go to college, even if they're working on something really cool. They've made millions of dollars. They've become a billionaire. I think everybody should go to college and at least experience a couple of months or at least years in that learning ecosystem. And yeah, that's keeping that aside, keeping academic aside. They should also, like, work on mental health. They should, like, sort of
Mhm.
keep themselves fit and not let academics or building really cool stuff get into their mental health or personal health as well.
Yeah. No, great words of advice. Tell us some of the resources that you've used, right? Like, communities, internet-based resources, books, some of those things that have really shaped your perspective, helped you along the way. Some of those things that folks who are interested, let's say, in becoming a problem solver, could actually start checking out today.
There are a lot of, like, free resources. Like, you have ChatGPT. That's the best resource that anybody could have. You could literally
Hmm.
learn anything in the world. You could become an astrophysicist on your own within a couple of years with ChatGPT itself. And there's no sort of limit on what you can access. I would say a lot of, at least for me, a lot of these open source, free, um, educational material on AI and machine learning sort of helped me get an understanding on what's going on in the space right now. So there's Stanford's online course, there's deeplearning.ai, there's MIT Open Courseware. A lot of this stuff sort of initially um, kept me going, and then it's sort of just reading a lot of stuff on Twitter, on X, on LinkedIn, and just keeping up with the space, reading like Apple's new paper that comes out every couple of months. um, Claude and Apple fighting on each other on can there actually be infinite context or not. And it's just keeping up with the space and just
Mhm.
going through on whatever you want to build, and just learning whatever you can along the way.
Okay, that's brilliant. I am. We'll let you go, but we have a short rapid fire and sort of try to bring a little bit of the Gen Z back in you, because you sound very mature for your age. Uh, one, tool, or okay, one tool that you use almost every day that you can't live without.
I would say Google Docs. It's the most basic tool anybody could use, but just jotting down ideas or jotting down whatever you have in your mind is really important.
Okay. One concept that is there sort of in a fuzzy layer around the frontiers that you think is brilliant, and you are keenly following it.
I would say a lot of the ongoing research that's going on building like foundation models and sort of the new stuff that's coming out every day. So it really varies. It's from context all the way to sort of working on tokenization. So it's a lot of stuff that goes on in my mind. But I would say it is something that comes out every like new every couple of days.
Okay. I don't know if you get time, but any favorite book?
Oh, that's a really good question. I've not read a good book in a really long time.
What was
The
the
last
last good book you read? Yeah.
the last good book I read was I'm not sure of its name. It was by Fyodor. It was a Russian. Um,
Dostoevsky?
yeah, Dostoevsky. Yes.
Which
Yeah.
one? You remember?
I'm not really sure. I'll have to look it up, but uh,
You could
I,
say Crime and Punishment.
I think so. I think I have the book's name somewhere.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it was The House of the Dead, the last book I read.
Okay. Okay. Any favorite TV shows?
Favorite TV show? I mean, um, really good question. I love Breaking Bad and the Better Call
Mhm.
series.
Yeah. Okay. Um, did you ever watch cartoons?
Early on, yeah, like I think everybody just goes on up on cartoons. A lot of like a lot of Rick and Morty, a lot of
Hmm.
Doraemon growing up. So yeah, just like
All right.
everybody else.
Yeah. Favorite sport to follow or to play?
Uh, I follow a lot of basketball, so the NBA, but I love
Mhm.
to play I love to play badminton. So
Okay. Okay. One mentor that you've had in your life that you really, feel their influence on you, on what you do
Mhm.
today.
Mentor really depends. I've had a lot of really cool people, and it's just a very long list to sort of
Mhm.
come down to. I would say my parents are along there as well. But one mentor that sort of started the entire InkVell process or sort of accelerated this was Mr. Mustafa. I worked with him on a lot of CME research. In NUS, he was a lecturer for my summer program, met Ishaan through him. So a lot of cool stuff came from him as well.
Okay. Two more questions. How far is AGI?
Oh, that's a really controversial question that you're asking over here. I mean, you're gonna find a lot of people on Twitter debating, oh, it's gonna come out tomorrow or it's gonna come out
Yeah.
in the next 10 years. I think
Yeah.
AGI is something that it's ongoing, but there's no relative timeline. It's all based on how novel anybody can be right now, or like every day something new comes up. So it can be tomorrow, it can be 10 years later. So there's no fixed timeline that I would like to,
All right.
adhere to.
All right. Last question. Not question, but sort of a message to young 15-year-olds who would be watching this. What would your one message be to them?
Just find a really good spot that you would like to be in and just sort of map out what you want to do and just do just build and learn. That's the two things that's really important, that just learning and building really cool stuff from the stuff that you've learned.
Wonderful. That brings us to the close of rather long rapid fire. But I am. It's been a wonderful conversation listening to you share your ideas, share your journey, and from our side, from Kolkata Calling, Hello Kolkata, wish both you and Ishaan all the very best for the Y Combinator cohort and all the very best for the journey of Inkwell. I'm sure you're going to go places. You have not just the skills, the mind, but also the humility and maturity. That is very rare to see, all these combinations in such a young mind. So, wish all of you all the best for the journey ahead. In closing, if there's anything you would want to say, with that, we'll close our podcast for today.
Thank you so much. It was really cool being here. Love the conversation. It'll help me reflect as well to it just helps me knowing that, at least I'm reaching out to somebody, at least even one person from Calcutta sort of hears this and build something really cool in the future. Just, it'd be really cool. You could just like if they have any questions, if anybody, any young teenager would like to talk to me or sort of need any advice, you can just always go to LinkedIn and sort of connect with me and sort of text me on there.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm sure a lot of people will, and you are an inspiration, not just for Kolkata kids, but young folks across the country. And wish you all the best once again. I am have a great trip, have a great experience at Y Combinator. Wish you all the best, and with that, we'll close our podcast for today.
Thank you so much. See you guys. Bye.